All right, y'all, welcome to the show. We got a giant one for you. Can you believe this is the first show since the shooting? I feel like I've done 12 shows on it, but this is the first official show since the shooting, so we got a lot of stuff to catch up on. So right off the bat, there was a massive Secret Service failure, and basically everybody and their mother is currently torching the Secret Service for how incompetent they are. So we'll talk about that. We also have a new angle of the Trump shooting has been released. We mentioned the other day there was a bomb found in his car. The Trump shooter, apparently we learned a lot more about his politics, and plot twisting tin for you, it's not what you think. His politics are not what the intuitive reaction would have led you to. And then we'll also get into Trump reacting to his own shooting, commentary from Biden, Obama, all these different political figures. We'll get to the various conspiracies around the shooting, some of them being honestly true, others being absolutely batshit insane. We'll get to who's being blamed, and everything around it. So everybody do me a big favor, subscribe to the channel. Of course, that's below. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, all right, let's start with this. So the FBI came out and gave a press conference after the Trump shooting. And as I told you guys the other day, they kind of not so subtly threw the Secret Service directly under the bus. Watch this.
Law enforcement only knew he was up there until shots were fired. Is that what you're hearing?
So that is the assessment at this time.
So are you surprised that a sniper was able to fire off a handful of shots at the former president? I mean,
again, we're still working through the security apparatus that the Secret Service had in place, what potentially happened. There's going to be a long investigation into exactly what took place and how the individual was able to get access to the location, what type of weapon he had. All that it is really days, weeks, and months of investigation.
He was able to get off like 4 or 5 shots.
It is surprising, but again, to get the true all the details of that will come out later in investigation.
Going back to the perimeter of this building, I think it's going to be really difficult for people to understand that this building, a very high vantage point, some 100 meters away from where this is happening, isn't part of that perimeter. What goes into that conversation over what is in and out and why wouldn't that be?
Again, the Secret Service really needs to answer that question. They conduct the initial site survey. They do the initial security assessments and determine where the different security locations should be. And they're the ones who are in charge of securing the scene. We, along with other state and local assets, are there to support the Secret Service and their mission.
So in other words, look, bro, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything wrong. The FBI didn't do anything wrong. We're not even in charge here. The Secret Service is in charge. So any sort of questions you have about the massive failure, you better direct those questions to them. Damn. Look, one of the pieces of speculation early on is that the reason this guy was able to get a shot off at Trump is that at these rallies, you have all these different levels of security and protection. So you may have local police and state police and the Secret Service and some other federal agents from other agencies. And so it's sort of like a giant mishmash of all these different layers of protection. And in a scenario like that, if it's not like fully centralized and it's a little decentralized, things can get lost in the noise, man. Things can get lost in the noise. So this is the FBI being like, don't look at me, bro. Ask the Secret Service. And by the way, at this press conference, you know who wasn't there? The Secret Service. So I don't know, sort of like they're hiding because they know perhaps they massively screwed up. All right, now I also got to give you this. A senior Secret Service source familiar with the planning of the Trump rally tells NBC News that the roof where the shooter was located was a well-known high-priority vulnerability. Okay, listen to this.
And at this hour, we do have some new information for you. A senior Secret Service source familiar with the planning of yesterday's event tells NBC News that the roof where the shooter was located was a well-known high-priority vulnerability. It was identified just the day before during a security walkthrough. We've also just learned that there were 2 counter-sniper teams on site and that the counter-sniper did not need approval to shoot.
So the roof was a high-priority vulnerability, their words, not mine, and the counter-snipers did not need approval to shoot. Everybody's breaking out their tinfoil hat right now. everybody and their mother is breaking out their tinfoil hat at the moment when they hear that, right? Now, I'm not saying that's the right reaction. I'm not saying that's the wrong reaction. I'm just saying that's going to be everybody's reaction, is like, this seems like a security failure. That's some basic 101 level type stuff.
Telling NBC News that prior protocols were not followed. The FBI now says the alleged shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crook.
We're going to get to more on him in a minute. I also wanted to give you this one. So this news came out just yesterday. The man who was killed at the Trump rally has been identified as former fire chief for Buffalo Township, Corey Comparato. Apparently, he was shielding his daughter from the bullets when he died. Quote, the Pennsylvania Trump rally claimed the life of my brother, Corey Comparato. The hatred for one man took the life of the one man we loved the most. He was a hero that shielded his daughters, his wife, and girls. Just lived through the unthinkable and unimaginable, his sister said on Facebook. My baby brother just turned 50 and had so much life left to experience. Hatred has no limits and love has no bounds. Pray for my sister-in-law, nieces, my mother, sister, me, and the nieces and nephews, as this feels like a terrible nightmare, but we know it is our painful reality. So here's a picture of the guy. This is the guy right here. He's the one who died. Now, my understanding is that there's at least one other who is still in critical condition. At least as of the recording of this right now, we have not gotten that person's name. Now, I also will say, I see a lot of stuff online where like they're digging up this guy's tweets and this guy's like posts on Facebook and things of that nature. And naturally, as you would expect, for a Trump supporter, he said a lot of things that, let's be nice in the moment given the circumstance and say a lot of the things he said were very ugly, right? He said very ugly things. He had some very ugly positions. Having said all that, I don't care, right? Like, a human being died, and that is bad. I am against murder. I think murder is a bad thing. I think murder is a wrong thing from a moral perspective and an ethical perspective. And I don't give a shit if somebody has horrific opinions across the board. If there is an act of aggression made against that person and they end up losing their life, that's immoral. That's unethical. That's not right. That is something we should all universally across the board condemn. So I don't really care that he was an asshole with bad opinions. My guess is most of the people who are at a Trump rally, if not all of them, right, are going to be assholes with bad opinions. That doesn't mean they should die in gunfire, right? I mean, I'm explaining the most basic things in the world, but nonetheless, I had to point it out. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.